Benchwarmers, we're back this week with another fantasy Benchwarmers episode. I'm joined by Erik in his custom Benchwarmer studio. He's happy and buzzing after a good penalty win. You can see it in his face. He can't hide it. A good penalty win by Arsenal over Liverpool. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Carabao Cup, the Moose Cup. But we're also joined by a very special guest who's smiling from ear to ear. And that's last season's Benchwarmers Fantasy Premier League winner, Nick Martinez. What's up, Niko?
What's up, boys? But I will say I am having a second season syndrome right now. I have to say I'm doing very, very bad.
Oh, we're gonna look into that. We're gonna look into the teams. We have some new members to the Benchwarmers Club. You guys know that each week we're gonna add new players to the Benchwarmers Club. These are players that essentially sat on their bench and kept it warm for their own teams. They were an unused sub, and we're gonna see who at the end of the season is the most bench warmer of them all. And just to give a shout out for some of our social media profiles and platforms, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter by searching Benchwarmers FC1. And you can also watch us on YouTube by searching Benchwarmers FC TV. We're gonna have Marco flash the social accounts. We'll make it difficult for him. But we'll go into really quick the Carabao Cup, which actually just wrapped up, maybe some 15 minutes ago or so. We saw a 0-0 draw between Arsenal and Liverpool. I'm pretty sure very hard fought, and they went out on penalties. So I know you watched it, Erik. What are your thoughts on the shootout win?
Definitely this game was all thanks to Leno. We should have lost this game. Liverpool had their opportunities, but it looks like Arteta knew what he was doing when he kept Leno in because my man kept us in the game, had some 4 incredible saves, and then saved 2 penalties at the end of the game, which got us into the next round. So I'm buzzing right now. Young kids played today, so they look pretty good. So as well as Liverpool's kids, they look fucking phenomenal as well. So there's a lot to go on off this game alone.
I want to ask about the Liverpool side, Niko, because basically that's now that it's one and done, we're moving on to the next round. But I do want to get your thoughts on Brentford 3, Fulham 0. Does that make Fulham probably one of the worst Premier League sides right now?
I think yes, absolutely. Well, Fulham have lost. I those last 2 games conceded like 10 goals, and then what they beat them last year in the playoff final. So to lose 3-0 to the team you beat, that's kind of alarming. But I think they'll bring in some new players, so we'll see. But for right now, yeah, they're looking pretty bad.
So the other results, we have Stoke City getting a very Stoke City win 1-0 over Aston Villa, and they actually just had the draw right before getting together and recording this. And we have some pretty good matchups. Stoke is going to go up against Spurs. Brentford is facing Newcastle. Arsenal drew City for a home clash, and Everton are welcoming United to Goodison. So it's going to be pretty tasty Carabao Cup quarterfinals. But this is the Fantasy Prem, and we're going to get into what our game weeks were looking like. Boys, it was a rough week. I know you probably will agree with me, as well as probably a good 2 or 3 million other managers which used wild cards, used chips, and it looks like the average team beat out those managers that used some of their chips for this week. But like I said, we start every episode with the Benchwarmers Club, and we have 4 new names for our Benchwarmers Club. These are unused subs that sat on their bench for the entire 90 minutes, and we're limiting it to some of the top sides just so that we can see who is the most benchwarmer out of them all. And Jesse Lingard is joining our Benchwarmers Club, used as an unused sub for the 90 minutes in their match against Brighton. Moise Keane is also a name that's going up on there. Sat on the bench right now. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are doing the dirty work for Everton. So Moise Keane, it's not very surprising, but for a promising prospect, it is a bit odd to see him sat on the bench for full time. Ross Barkley is the third name to join our Benchwarmers Club. He's now off to Aston Villa, so hopefully he'll get some starting time. A lot of people saying maybe he found his level. I'm not going to comment to that, though. And then Getson Fernandez at Spurs. Getson Fernandez featured actually right after, if I'm not mistaken, for their match in midweek. and he looked pretty well. But for the weekend, he was an unused sub. So those 4 names are going into our Benchwarmers Club. Right now, we have a few other names just to remind you guys. We have Greenwood, Pepe, Aurier, Tammy, Giroud, and Mahrez. It's unlikely that some of those names may be recurring bench warmers, but we're going to keep adding to that list and see what we get at. Gameweek 3, boys. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I hope you guys aren't too shy. I didn't do very well myself, but I'm going to hit the share screen here, and I'm going to go into the fantasy league for Benchwarmers FC. I want to give a quick shout out to the the overall leader for league after Game Week 3. That's Liverpool. It looks like Kieran is leading his squad with an 87 pointer, doing very well. I'm sat in 3rd place. The next one we have on our bench is Eddie. Eddie with managing Bafana FC is in 7th. Erik is sat comfortably in the top 10. Even though he might not be very happy with his squad, and we'll get your match thoughts and your comments for the game week right after. Josue is following him in 11th place. We are seeing a bit of second season slump by Nick, sitting in 20th. And we also have Marco, honorable mention, in 24th with a small little green arrow on 57 points. So Erik, if you have if you ever team up on your screen, just so you can walk us through, it looks like you played a chip, you played your free hit, and I got your team up right now.
Yeah.
On the screen, I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so that we see your starting 11. There are a few. What were your thoughts for Game Week 3, my man?
It was rough, man. I really was expecting a lot more from the likes of Timo Werner, Jimenez, and especially Son, which is why I picked those players up. I said, KDB was kind of a guaranteed set of points, but that obviously backfired. I completely shat the bed this week. It was a waste. It was a waste of a free pick, and it really came back to haunt me, man. Because nothing produced for me. My highest points came from Alexander-Arnold. That my defender had more points than anybody else on my team.
Yeah, we can see that. You did get a nice 6-pointer from Emi Martinez. It's worth noting, I believe the stat was that Aston Villa had only won 2 away games, kept a clean sheet in 2 away games all season last season, and they already kept a clean sheet in their first away match of this new one. Do you think Emi Martinez, I'll ask you that question, do you think Emi Martinez is going to be a set and forget goalkeeper for the rest of the season?
Yeah, but he left Arsenal because he wanted number 1 guaranteed starting time, and that's what he's going to get at Aston Villa. So I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to be the goalkeeper for the rest of the season.
We'll get back to maybe doing some surgery on your team just so that we can run by your second season slump. 32 points all out for Game Week 3. Look, I hope you have your team up. I have it right now on screen. What are your woes for Game Week 3?
Well, I'm gonna have to start out with my captain, KDB. Disappointed heavy this weekend against Leicester, 5-2 loss. But the one I'm so mad about has to be Dyer. The way Tottenham's game went, 97th minute penalty conceded, so would have got a clean sheet point there. Vinagre got, Wolves got demolished, but some work needs to be done here for sure.
Yeah, definitely. 34 points all out. You did get a nice clean sheet from McCarthy. Are you a McCarthyist? Are you one that has picked up Alex McCarthy from the beginning of the season?
I did. Actually, wait. Yes, I did. Even last year, I stuck with McCarthy, but this year, so Southampton looked decent, and we'll see if they keep it going. But maybe set and forget. Maybe I'm looking at Ryan or Martinez.
Oh, looking at Ryan, that's a good shout. Ryan at Brighton. They did have a result that didn't go their way this last weekend. I do have Marco's team up, but since he isn't with us this week and we're graced by Niko's presence, I'll skip to my team. I made 3 transfers. I had banked 1 from Game Week 2, and it didn't go too well for me either. I was hoping for some magic from De Bruyne. I brought him in thinking the same as everybody else. A pretty weak, what I thought was a weak Leicester side. I was unaware entirely that Johnny Evans was back in. Indeed, he's going to be out for a while with some surgery. Stuart Dallas from Leeds. He had a very impressive, I think it was 3 or 4 shots on target, which is for a fullback. I think that's good news. The overall consensus right now is for the defense on fantasy teams is fullbacks are being targeted very, very heavily this season. The typical center backs like your Van Dijks, like maybe even your Gabriels, your Minas, they aren't as involved in the attack, even though they have gotten their goals early this season. The fullbacks though, like Alexander-Arnold, like Dallas, Mitchell, Tarek Lamptey is also very hot. Those are players that probably want to target. I did have a stinker with Jimenez. I thought that they would have a much easier time.
Yeah, I think we all thought Jimenez was going to be able to get us some solid points there, man. But that was a complete fail. I think for the most part, all of our teams going to have the same kind of pattern. Our defenders and Niko, you too. Our defenders are the ones that had the most points.
Yeah, I think most people.
Yeah, like I am trying to think what was a good team to pick this past week.
It was actually very difficult, and I'll show it right now just so that we can have it on the screen. The highest scoring team had 119 points all out, made 1 transfer. They triple captained Jamie Vardy. That's one player outscoring our entire teams.
Wow.
These are usually dead teams though, so I wouldn't look into it too much. They did double up on Liverpool defense.
Created for 1 week.
How do you triple captain Vardy in a week like this where you play Man City? What goes through your mind to think that that's logical? But apparently
I don't
it works.
know.
I don't know.
Why Mount? That's my question. Why Mount?
Yeah, why Mount? I don't know why Mason Mount is there. That's a pretty odd shout. Madison as well. Sus. Madison hasn't even been getting like starting minutes. But anyway, I'll stop sharing my screen so we can get back to your wonderful faces, guys. Well, I have five names on the watch list this week. 5 names that I want people to maybe keep their eye on, and we'll see how it goes. The Irishman has been supplying the service a lot more for his team. Obviously, Digne is the usual culprit for Everton, but Seamus Coleman looks like he's getting back to his usual form, getting up forward. That's the first name. Although I wanted him to be my secret pick, I will put on Stuart Dallas on there from Leeds. I've had Dallas from the start of the season from Gameweek 1. A few rough fixtures, but I think their style of play kind of benefits him going forward. It looks like Eiling stays back a bit more. Riyad Mahrez is the 3rd name on the watch list. It looks like Sterling without Jesus is absolutely lost. And I think that each week against the Leicester side that overpowered them, that Mahrez might be a good source for the goals. Obviously, we want De Bruyne to start firing on all cylinders and getting us those sweet bonus points and assists. But for now, Mahrez might be a cheap alternative, seeing how expensive Sterling and De Bruyne are. The next name is actually another Leeds member, Jack Harrison. He's unable to play this upcoming weekend against his parent club, which is Man City. But following that Man City game, like I mentioned, Leeds have some pretty good and equal matchups, I think, where they'll be able to get some goals. They've conceded a lot, but they have scored quite a bit. So Jack Harrison, some people might want Click, who is the penalty taker. The penalty takers this season are being also very heavily targeted because obviously the amount of penalties that we've gotten are astronomical. So that could be actually a good strategy for your team if you want to target the penalty takers. We actually touched on that a little bit last week. But the last name also I'm putting up there is Rashford on United. Rashford looked pretty sharp, especially in this Carabao Cup matchup where they faced Brighton a second time. And obviously Bruno is going to be the most, I guess, valuable pick for United side. He had a terrible match this last week when it comes to fantasy. 1 million cheaper, 9.5. Some teams are going to have players out due to injury, and the first name on the watch list to take off is Heung-min Son. So I know we have Son on our teams, and he's going to be the first fire to put out. We want to get him out of the clubs as soon as possible. Jesus is out injured, just like Aguero. So if you have him, or if you were looking at him, I think that's a no-brainer to kind of put him off to the side and focus on their midfield. Names like Foden or Mahrez. And then the last player, this one's a bit odd, but I know a lot of some people were looking into the Arsenal backline, especially with Gabriel adding some I guess some security. But I think Rob Holding, it might be a team to avoid for now. I really believe like players like Bellerin or Tierney are going to give you much more return for their prices, just like how the fullbacks are giving us the returns with assists and with goals. Lamptey and Mitchell and Alexander-Arnold are up there. So you guys, I want to ask you right now, and I'll pull up your teams in a little bit. We're looking at game week 4. There are some pretty interesting matchups for game week 4. Do you have a plan for this upcoming weekend, Niko?
I do. I'm actually wildcarding. I'm pulling the trigger, man.
My man's wildcarding early. All right. So what's prompting you to hit that wildcard button?
Werner. Werner definitely. Blanked against West Brom. Obviously, I had Son on my team, transferred him in for this game. We got injured. Got to get Dyer out. Got to get Vinagre, something like that. Got to get him out.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he's not nailed on. And yeah, it's wild card time, boys.
Oh, that wild card is rough. I honestly, my thoughts on wild carding is holding off as much as possible. But hey, if you got a team in mind that you're gonna look at, you gotta trust your gut and you gotta go with it. Erik, what do you think for this upcoming game week 4? Do you have a plan for your team? Some switches, some transfers in mind?
Yeah, luckily last week it was only that free pick, so my team goes back to its original status. So I'm actually happy with my current squad. I'm just gonna probably take out Grealish and either bring in Zaha or Mahrez. I'm still not sure because I actually have some money left in the bank right now. I got about 2.2 sitting in the bank right now.
Man, really?
Nice. That's going to be super useful to probably upgrade some of those players. In my case, I obviously have Son, which I want to offload. I am looking at maybe Ings or Calvert-Lewin. I don't think out of us 3, I don't think any of us have Calvert-Lewin. Is that right?
No, but
oh no, you do.
I have him. Yeah, look, I had the free pick and I dropped him for Werner. Thankfully, I didn't do the wild card, so now I'm back to having Calvert-Lewin on my squad.
Smart. Very smart move. I mean, obviously, the points return maybe wasn't what we wanted, but yeah, having Calvert-Lewin from this moment forward, they're looking on fire right now. Very, very, very good vibes with Richarlison and James at the clubs. So Calvert-Lewin and Ings are 2 names that are coming up, at least on my radar. I did want to kick myself because I had Vardy prior to this and I shipped him out for Jimenez. So that was a 17-point hit to the face. But I think just for the fixtures that Wolves have, Jimenez might be worth it. I still picked him up anyway to keep him for at least 3 to 4 game weeks. So I have to give him time. One of the things that we were stressing last week, and I'll stress it again now, having patience with your picks and with your squad, I think is going to pay off a lot this season. Because we saw it just like with the people that sold Son early, the people that got rid of Vardy early, the people that aren't picking up on Calvert-Lewin. Like you just have to identify which players you want to go for and kind of trust your gut with that. Even if they don't perform. So I know you guys both have the same feelings about Werner, but I'll make this one of the main questions for this episode real quick. So Timo Werner, either you keep him and he blanks or you sell him and he bangs.
I personally, for me, sell him. He's been very inconsistent off the bat. You can't rely on, on hopeful dominance from him. So I don't think it's going to be worth keeping him.
This is my say. If Werner can score against West Brom, he's got to be out for me. Southampton look way better than West Brom, but yeah, if you can't score against West Brom, he's got to be out for me. 3 straight game weeks.
I guess all 3 of us are pretty much Werner out. Who are you guys looking to target? Let's say if you're able to do the transfer, who would you replace Werner with, Erik?
Well, if you don't have him and you can get him, Calvert-Lewin 100%. Or, I mean, Vardy has been firing on all cylinders, man. You can't say no to him. So any one of those two guys, I think, is a good swap for him.
Niko, what do you think about a Werner replacement that's not Vardy or DCL?
I think Jimenez and Ings. Wolves have some pretty good fixtures coming up with Fulham next week. And I think, who does Southampton play? West Brom. So West Brom, they just conceded 3 goals
West
in
Brom.
one half.
I
So I think Ings and Jimenez.
I was gonna ask you guys, how do you guys feel about Bamford?
Oh,
He might be in my wildcard team. I'm not lying. He might be in.
He's cheap.
He's cheap, yeah.
5.7
He's
or
cheap
5.8,
and
one of
he's
those.
getting involved in the goals. That's actually a great shout, Erik. Bamford. A lot of people were bringing up the fact that I think he like led the league in the championship last season for missed chances, and then so far this season he's been coming good on playing the forward role. So yeah, Bamford actually does stretch your money a bit if you want to go with 3 strikers up front, or if you just want to do 1 premium and then Bamford. That's going to really help you out with stretching your funds to upgrade it elsewhere. So some of the fixtures that we do want to highlight: United do play Spurs this weekend, and Liverpool play Villa. I know you guys probably went over this on the episode for the week, but if you were to target one match for fantasy, and I'll give you guys a choice. If you're to target one match for fantasy, would you rather have a Southampton player against West Brom or a Wolves player against Fulham?
Oh man, that's a tricky one. But if I had to choose one, I would go Wolves because Fulham do not look good at all.
Yeah, I have to agree with Nick on that one, man. 100%. West Brom brought it to Chelsea last week, so why wouldn't they able to bring it to
They
Southampton?
probably have some momentum as well.
It probably doesn't look good for their clean sheet chances. But I guess that wraps up this week. We have our teams kind of set up to end this episode. As always, we're going to go through the captaincy pick. Gentlemen, who are you going to give the captain's armband? Erik, if you would enlighten us, who are you going to slap it on for game week 4?
Oh man, I'm kind of stuck in between a couple of options. You know, just trying to be kind of safe with this one. It's gonna be either between Aubameyang or Mohamed Salah. I think those are gonna be the most likely Salah, just because facing Aston Villa. To be honest with you,
Salah against a leaky Villa side, even though they are facing an Emi Martinez that's in form, but you're going with Salah for the armband.
Going with Salah,
Niko, who you putting that armband on?
I gave it to a City player last week, so I'm gonna give it to him again. I'm going KDB or Sterling. I think Leeds and City match is gonna be open game, a lot of goals, and I'm hoping one of them can get some points. So I'm going to a City player most likely, but maybe.
Oh man, I hope it's not a 2-week disappointment. I'm actually thinking the same thing, giving it to De Bruyne. I don't see myself picking up another City player. I just don't have the funds for it. Yes, against Fulham, hopefully, but I see probably De Bruyne getting involved with the goals a bit more in that matchup against Leeds. So that's it for this week, boys. Thanks for joining me on this episode for Fantasy Prem. Everyone else that's participating in our fantasy league, just a sweet and general reminder that the top manager of the season gets an awesome prize. We have our man Niko to attest to that, who was able to top the Benchwarmers Fantasy League last season. So we hope you guys are still fighting it out. Don't give up. It's very, very early in the season. Like I said before, it's a marathon, not a sprint. My name's Diego, joined today by Erik and Niko. We'll catch you next week for game week. Actually, no, we'll catch you in 2 weeks because we have an international break. We'll catch you in 2 weeks, and we'll see you on the next episode for fantasy. Peace, guys.